Hello, everyone, and welcome to Counselor Feature Friday. I'm your host, Brian Urban. In these features, we hope to give you some simple tips, tidbits, and tricks to make your days easier and your patients happier. In this feature, we're going to talk about customizing report options. Specifically, we're talking about professional, patient, chart notes reports, as well as questionnaires. This, I should note, is done on a case-by-case, or I should say user-by-user basis. That means that any changes that you make to the areas I'm going to show you in a moment are just for your own sign-in, for your own personal profile. If other members of your staff would like to have the same customizations, they will need to go through the same steps to get those in place. So let's kind of take this step by step. We'll start by looking at the professional report options. So we'll click on Administration in the top menu bar and then choose Report Options. Now, what you'll see here are the same options that you see when you're working on a professional report. So these, of course, within a professional report, you can make changes to the font size and the margins and all kinds of different things and change the order. Here are the same settings. The difference here, of course, is that the first option that pops up here is the default. This is what you're setting as the most common scenario, the most common layout that you'd like to use. This is what the professional report will automatically be arranged as or customized as for each new patient visit. Okay, so you want to spend a little bit of time just making sure that what you most commonly need on your report is in place. Of course, this one change can save you a bunch of times because, for example, if you only occasionally do reflexes and OEEs, well, then you probably don't want them part of your default, right? That way you don't have to go into every single patient visit report options area and remove them and save. You can just have it set as your default. Okay, but the point is you would just go through and make any changes that you want, whether it's regarding to the title of the report, font size, margins, the display order. If you're not familiar with this feature, this does give you the ability to rearrange the professional report. So you can decide what goes first. Maybe instead of the audio data first, you want the history to be first and the audio data to be second, right? Whatever you want. You can change that all around. Okay. You go through each one of these. There's options, regarding how the audiogram is displayed, whether we're talking about, data only or the audiogram image. Just a lot of different things to kind of look through and decide how you want the report to look. So we won't go through each one of these options, but I encourage you to take a look and set these as you like. Okay, so as we move down here, some of these you likely would just leave checked, optimize display rows. This means basically if in one of the tables a row is not being used, Counselor will remove it, right? So it'll kind of slim down your report and remove empty cells whenever possible, okay, or empty rows, I should say. Some other things about signature, once again, just areas you want to look through, make sure you're comfortable with it. When you finish making your changes, you'll go ahead and click Save. Okay, that locks in those changes. Now, once again, this would just be for the default, but not always, default isn't always going to be the case, right? So you have the ability to create new layouts. So you can click here on the plus symbol, you can type in whatever name it is you want. So if you've got a specific scenario, I'll just say ABC, and in that specific scenario, maybe it's just more of a screening type of situation. So you're gonna have fewer tests, or it's more of a comprehensive evaluation. You're gonna have more options. Or it's you're doing one specifically for a tinnitus eval report, and when you're doing tinnitus reports, you're not doing an audio. Maybe the audio was done previously. So in that case, you would actually have all of these removed. Perfectly fine, right? APD, another example, vestibular, SLP, right? There's different instances where you may not want any of this, right? So once you've got, the title, you can change things around. I'm sorry, you could modify the title. So if this was vestibular evaluation, whether this is any title you want, obviously you can customize that. Same thing goes for all the other areas. You go ahead and click Save, and it will lock in that layout option. So next time you go to write a report, you'll be able to select that from the list in the professional report options area, and it will then reconfigure based on what you have here. Okay, so point being is you can pop in here under administration and then professional report options, make sure your default is what you want, make any additional layouts as needed, and then as you move forward with future reports, it just gets much easier to have them customized based on your specific preferences. Okay, now kind of moving forward to the other areas here. The patient report has very similar features. If we look at the patient report options, you once again can decide what your default is. So once you have your default in place, once again you click save, and there you go. Right? When we move forward to chart notes options, a little bit different options here in that you can decide whether the order of the chart notes will be ascending or descending. So it just depends on how you wish to look at those, whether in chronological or reverse chronological order. And there's just different options here. For example, if you want the patient notes, these are notes that are in the patient administration screen, oftentimes more procedural type notes, but in some cases people like those to be on the reports as well, so you absolutely can. Anyway, just a bunch of options that you can have in here as well. Make your selections. By the way, of course, if you make your selections and realize you're not crazy about it, you can always pop back and change them up again. Okay. One key one I do want to point out within the chart notes is the only display current visit note. So when you're in a patient visit, if you would like that chart notes PDF to only show the current visit, then you want to make sure to have this checked. Otherwise, by default, it will show all of the previous notes. So in instances where you are providing a chart note, maybe you're mobile audiology and you're going to a senior facility and you want to create individual PDFs for each encounter, you want to make sure and have that one checked. If you're not doing that, then you probably can leave it as it is. If you have this checked, and in the patient visit screen it provides chart note, an individual chart note, it's on the report, you still have the ability within the patient profile to bring open all of the chart notes in one go, in one PDF. So if you have this check, you still have the capability to do a full chart notes report as well as a one-by-one within the visit. Okay, so just some flexibility there. The last option we're going to cover here is the questionnaire option, report options. So once again, fairly simple there. As far as the overall look and feel, the main thing I want to point out though is the notification email. So if you want to put in an email address or multiple email addresses so that individuals on your staff will receive notification when a questionnaire has been completed. That's up to you. By default, of course, this is empty, but perhaps you want staff members to know that a patient completed a questionnaire or an intake form, case history, whatever the case may be, so that way it can be reviewed. Of course, there's the ability to track a lot of this through the dashboard as well, but this gives you that email, that kind of real-time notification that something's happening. Okay, so of course, if you have any questions about any of these areas, please let us know. Contact our wonderful support team, call us, email us, live chat with us. Thank you very much for joining us for today's Counselor Feature Friday. As always, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.